I'm Ian Dilly.
And I am Michael Sheehan. Today we are going to preview some of the big stories that are going to be unfolding over the next few weeks as we head to Yorkshire for the World Championships.
And we will be back with full previews for all of the events, under 23, junior, men's, women's. Today we're going to talk primarily about the elite men's race, which is 258 kilometers long, 183 miles with 11,500 feet of climbing. Now, this is a course that is not as difficult as what we saw last year in Innsbruck, which had over 16,000 feet of climbing, but it is still very difficult. It finishes on a 14-kilometer circuit with 2 hard climbs, and it's a course that a lot of people are comparing to Amstel Gold in terms of length and vertical feet of climbing, and it's a race that bodes well for the riders that do well in the Flemish Classics, as well as climbers with a punchy finish.
It is going to be a long slog. I actually have to correct you. It is 285 kilometers long.
What'd I say?
You said 258. They're not getting off that easy. But anyways, we have the world's best bike racers, of course, coming. And what I want to go into first is what we saw at Tour of Britain and who came out on top from that race.
Yeah, we saw some really phenomenal racing from Mathieu van der Poel, who not only won 3 stages and also took the overall, but as Mathieu van der Poel does, kind of just made everybody else look silly.
Yeah, let's start with stage 4, I think it was, with this uphill finish where Mike Teunissen was drilling it and had the entire field strung out on his wheel going to the finish, and just from off camera comes Mathieu van der Poel suddenly going 2 miles an hour faster than everybody and wins by a clean handful of bike lengths above the rest of the field. And Mathieu van der Poel continued that form throughout the rest of the race. He had a really good individual time trial and won the last 2 stages of Tour of Britain. Stage 7 was another uphill finish. Stage 8 he won in a field sprint, showing just how versatile we all know Mathieu van der Poel to be, and I think cementing the fact that he is going to be the favorite at Yorkshire.
Yeah, I think stage 7 was really my favorite moment, where Matteo Trentin, who by the way is leading the Italian national team at the World Championships, was on Van der Poel's wheel for the entirety of the climb and basically just conceded the finish to him crossing the line and kind of waving his arms like, what am I going to do with this guy?
He even gave Van der Poel a thumbs up while he was getting dropped, which I think...
He was fanboying over Mathieu van der Poel as he was getting second place to Mathieu van der Poel.
Hey, that shows the great personality, of Matteo Trentin, and just the respect that he has for the young Dutch star. Yeah, Mathieu van der Poel, I don't know who can beat him at Yorkshire, but we are going to go down the list now and see who the contenders are. We had a couple of the Grand Prix races in Quebec.
Yeah, as we mentioned in our preview show from Montreal and Quebec, we did see incredibly strong lineups for these tune-up races. And the courses at Montreal and Quebec are very similar to what we'll see on the finishing circuit in Harrogate. The race in Montreal was actually extended by 2 laps to make it almost 220 kilometers to help riders prepare for the World Championships. And we saw all the riders that we are considering to be world contenders on strong form. Peter Sagan, Greg Van Avermaet, Julian Alaphilippe, and our Canadian favorite, Michael Woods. Let's get into Quebec, because this is a race where I really felt that Sagan showed some of the form, showed some of the I guess, dominating spirit that we've known from him. Alaphilippe forced a selection with a searing attack, but it was really Sagan, I think, that drove the break and ended up leading out the sprint, allowed Michael Matthews to get back in contention and eventually take the win. But to me, Sagan wasn't really riding this race for the win. He really wanted to see what he can do, what mistakes he might make, and I think he will race much smarter at Worlds in Harrogate.
Yeah, the second place that Sagan got while leading it out from a kilometer to go really shows, I think, the form that Sagan has found in the latter part of this year. The first half of the year he was a little bit more quiet, and I think that he still is going into Yorkshire, perhaps even intentionally downplaying his chances and not showing himself, but that second place finish was as impressive in my books as a win.
Yeah, and then in Montreal, it really was Michael Woods who forced a selection of about 18 riders the final time up the climb. And again, we saw Sagan chasing the AG2R rider Cosnefoy and Alaphilippe, kind of ruining his own chances for a strong finish. But Alaphilippe did not look as great as he obviously did this spring when he was nearly untouchable at races like Strade Bianche and Milan San Remo. I think he still has a little bit of work to do if he's going to be considered a winner. You know, he's obviously a favorite, but if he's going to win the World Championships. Van Avermaet, though, with his victory in Montreal was truly impressive, both for his patience and his timing, if not necessarily his strength. He followed the reels perfectly, came off of Diego Ulissi with about 150 meters to go, and really had a convincing victory.
Yep, Greg Van Avermaet, he is another one who needs a couple more wins under his belt this year, and the World Championships would be quite a coup for him. Let's look at the Vuelta España, because that has also told us some things. First and foremost, kicking it old school with Philippe Gilbert, former world champion. He came away with 2 stage wins at the Vuelta, and there's no question about it. He is hungry for the Yorkshire World Championships. I think that he has been training very, very hard the second half of this season with all eyes on Yorkshire.
Yeah, Gilbert, of course, was left off of the Tour de France team by Deceuninck Quickstep, something that was extremely disappointing to him. But, you know, we have seen him turn around, train hard, and has obviously proven that he is going to be leading the Belgian team, or one of the leaders. I think that is going to be perhaps the one thing working against Gilbert is this Belgian team is so strong, with not only Van Avermaet but also Remco Evenepoel, who we saw riding incredibly well in Montreal too.
They have a 37-year-old and a 20-year-old who could feasibly win the race. So I think the Belgian is going to find something somewhere in there to make it a really exciting race for all of us.
Yeah, let's get into, there is one more rider, one more old guy that we forgot to mention. Alejandro Valverde also impressed at the Vuelta a España, the 39-year-old, winning a stage and finishing second overall. Of course, this is the reigning world champion and surely will be leading the Spanish team.
Yeah, as we learned last year, you can never count out Alejandro Valverde. Yorkshire is also bringing in some new changes to cycling. It is going to be the first time at a World Championships that we are seeing a mixed team time trial relay, which is a team of 3 men and a team of 3 women doing a relay team time trial. That's exactly what it sounds like.
So this will happen on the 14-kilometer finishing circuit in Harrogate, which is a hilly technical circuit. The men will do 1 lap. When the second rider from the men's team crosses the line, the women will then take off. This was a race that was debuted at the European Championships this summer and was won by the Dutch team, which will also be the odds-on favorite for this race, with Annemiek van Vleuten, Anna van der Breggen, and Ellen van Dijk on the women's side. These 3 women actually swept the individual time trial at the 2018 World Championships.
Now, this is a really, really interesting format for the new team time trial. The old trade team time trial is no more, and I think that having a women's team and a men's team combining their times really opens the door for a lot of nations to show how strong their overall cycling program is, not just the men's team. A lot of European teams like Belgium is one that comes to mind. They have an incredibly strong men's team time trial lineup, but their women's side is really underdeveloped. I think this new format really will reward nations who invest in women's cycling, like the United States, who should have a fantastic shot at a medal at this World Championships Team Time Trial Mixed Relay.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the world's roster from the U.S., we have Chad Haga, who won the final time trial at the Giro d'Italia, Lawson Craddock, who was recently 4th in the individual time trial at the Vuelta, and Nielsen Pallas, a strong time trialist in and of his own right. As well as on the women's side, we have the 2-time world champion in the individual time trial, Amber Neben, along with Taylor Wiles and Leah Thomas. All 3 of these American riders were top 10 in the individual time trial at the 2018 World Championship. So the U.S. should definitely be in the running for a medal, except
they're not going.
They're not. The U.S. did not enter a team for the mixed relay at the World Championships.
Well, which is mind-blowing, because the second that I saw this new format going to Yorkshire, I thought, sweet, America has a shot at a World Championship medal, if not the entire win, but we're not doing it. Don't know why.
Yeah, it's really confusing and disappointing. We are going to look into exactly why. We have reached out to some riders who have said that there is not a ton of excitement, enthusiasm, interest from the athletes. They will have to get there, a few days early. They will be riding with teammates on their national teams who they are not used to doing team time trials with. We're going to figure out more about this mixed relay, get some responses from the riders. We will actually be at the World Championships for the entirety of the event. And yeah, we'll get lots of reporting for you from the UK.
Yeah, and I guess that is it for now. We will see you again in Yorkshire with lots of preview content for all 10 days of racing that are coming up, which will be available to our Canadian viewers live on FloBikes.
And of course, all the content will be available to everyone, no matter where you are. See you then.